Well, hello, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Coli. I hope you're having another great day. I know I am. Today, our parts of speech lesson that we're learning about is a fun one that kind of goes along with adjectives. They're kind of partners in our parts of speech. So today we're going to be talking about adverbs. And adverbs like to work with verbs. They are words that describe verbs, adjectives, or another type of adverb. So let's go through and see what does an adverb answer in our question. And you can see it answers the what, the where, the how, and the how often in our sentence. So if you don't know where an adverb is, if it answers those types of questions, you just found that adverb. Okay, so if we're reading a sentence like she quickly walked to the store, what does that tell? Well, it tells how she walked to the store. So that would be an adverb describing how she's walking. Also, if you're looking at adverbs or looking for adverbs, if it ends in an ly, you found yourself an adverb. That's one of the easiest ways to find adverbs is look for the words that end in ly, and they describe how something is done. Some of the other easier words to locate would be the when. When does something happen? Well, it happens after. It happened yesterday. It happens now. It happens later, soon, or early. When you find those words in sentences, you just found your adverb. Now, in a sentence, if the word answers where something is taking place, then you just found your adverb, like the words inside, outside, here, there, away, or near. Now, if something tells you how often something is happening, which is right here in the purple, like words like always, sometimes, never, often, once, or twice, you just found your adverb. So adverbs are really fun, aren't they? Sometimes, however, we like to compare our adverbs and adjectives. To do that, we have three different types of comparisons. You have the positive degree, you have the comparative degree, and last but not least, you have the superlative degree. Say those with me. Positive degree, comparative degree, and last but not least, what is that? Superlative. Say that again. Superlative. Say it one more time. Superlative. I know that is a mouthful. That's a hard word sometimes to say. Okay, so what is a positive degree? If you're comparing an adjective, in the case of this dog, it describes one thing. So it's describing this dog right here. It says Alex's dog is big. So this is an adjective. So the dog is big. It's a big dog, right? If I want to just get rid of the words, I can put the word big in front of dog and it would make sense, big dog. So that word big is just a regular comparison describing the size of that dog. So it's just a positive degree describing one thing. Now, if I'm describing more than one thing, I'm describing two things, comparing two things side by side, then it's a comparative degree. For instance, Sid's dog is bigger than Alex's dog. Notice we're going from big to bigger, and then when you're working with superlative comparisons, you're comparing three or more. For instance, this sentence, Sam's dog is the biggest. So that could be that he's bigger than 10 dogs, 100 dogs, 1,000 dogs, or 1,000,000 dogs. It doesn't really tell you how many he's being compared to, but we just know it's more than 2 dogs. So some important things to remember here. So we have big, bigger, biggest, and it says the most common way to compare things is to add the ER or the EST to the adjectives or adverbs. How many of you have already been using this skill? I'm probably since second or third grade. I would say most of you probably know how to compare adjectives and adverbs by adding the ER or the EST. If some of you are like, I don't really understand, or thumbs down, I hope that by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to give me at least one thumbs up or two thumbs up that now you know how to compare adjectives or adverbs too. Okay, there are exceptions to the rule. Sometimes we have to use the word more or most instead of adding the ER and the EST. Okay, so these are situations for adjectives when you would, with 3 or more syllables. So if it has 3 or more syllables, you would add more or most. 3 things or more, then we would say most responsible. So if I'm looking at my whole class and I'm saying that Joe, he is the most responsible student in my class, this is the way it would look. I wouldn't want to say responsiblest. He is the responsiblest student. That's just too many syllables, isn't it? So we need to make sure we remember to say more or most with 3 or more syllables. Now let's look at adverbs that end in ly. What do we do with these words? Because we wouldn't want to go and add an er or an es to a word that's already loudly, because otherwise it'd be loudlier, loudliest. So they're saying instead, add the more or the most, more loudly or most loudly. Got it? Good job. Okay, now let's go through our list here of positive, comparative, and superlative adjectives and adverbs. So we're looking at the word new, like I have new shoes. I'm comparing my shoes and only my shoes, so they're new shoes. What if I'm comparing my shoes and my husband's shoes? And I would say, I have newer shoes than my husband. Notice I added just the ER because I'm comparing 2 things. What if I'm saying to my family, I have the newest shoes? Then I'm comparing more than, it's going to be 3 people or more, right? And in a family, typically you have a mom and dad, and sometimes it's one child or more than one child. So this would work for a superlative example. Let's try the word funny. What happens to funny? This is when we have to know our spelling patterns. So if you're using the word funny, I could say, I read a funny story, or I read a very funny story. Okay, and I'm comparing my book against really my book, just my book is funny. Then if I'm going to compare my book to one other student's book, and I'm comparing our books together, I could say this, my book is funnier than your book. And this is how you would spell funnier. Remember, we have to drop the Y, and then we would change the Y to I and add ER. Now, if I was going to use the superlative comparison in regards to my funny book, and I was comparing my book to maybe my whole class's books, I would say, my book is the funniest book. And again, I would drop the Y from funny, and I would add I and then the EST. In the case with smoothly, we learned up here that it's an adverb. And when we're comparing adverbs, we know that if the adverb ends in ly, we have to use more or most to do our comparison. So you would say, he read his words smoothly. Like if you have a fluency test with a teacher, your teacher would say, he read his book smoothly. And a teacher is just comparing just that one student and how he read that one time. However, what happens if there's 2 students that are reading with their teacher, and the teacher noticed that one student was able to read with more accuracy, and it just seemed to flow better than the other student? And the teacher would say, you read your book more smoothly than Johnny did, comparing 2. What happens when the teacher's comparing one student's, how smoothly they read versus the class? Well, the teacher would say, he read the book the most smoothly. Now that's a comparison with 3 or more students, like in the case with the class. Okay, everybody good? Let's try this one, late. Okay, so I came late tonight. Now, if we're talking about two people that showed up late, you could say, I came later than you. Okay, I'm comparing me with one other person. So if you're comparing you to a group of people that showed up for a party, you could say, I came the latest. And all that you do in this case, because it already has an E, all that you would have to do is add the R. Or you can just drop the E, like with our silent E rule that we learned. We drop the E and then add the ER, like we did for the EDs on our past tense verbs. So again, you could do that for this one, late. So you would drop the E and then add your ER. For this one, you would drop the E and add the EST. Some important words to memorize that we need to know are good, better, and best. You would say, I am good. He is better than me. She is the best in the class. For bad, worse, and worst, you would say this. I feel bad. He feels worse than me. You feel the worst. Now that's, again, comparing me to me and another person. And then he feels the worst. So he versus all of us. I hope these lessons today about comparing adverbs and adjectives made sense. And I hope that you are excited to use more adverbs in your writing, and also that you're able to recognize adverbs in the text that you're reading on a daily basis. It's really important to be word detectives and be on the lookout for these different parts of speech that you're learning. So today what I'd like you to do in your reading journal, your reading and writing journal, is to write the date and write adverbs at the top. And I would like to see if you can write a sentence with an adverb. It could be something like this. I quickly walked to school. Underline your adverb. You can illustrate it if you want. And then I want you to get a book in your classroom, any book that you choose, and I want you to look through a couple pages and go on a hunt for words that answer the where, the when, the where, the how, and the how often in your story. And these are examples of words that you would be on the lookout for. So you would write the word, and off to the side, tell me what page number you found those words on. I'd like you to try to find 10 adverbs today as you're looking at words in your text, in your textbooks, or in just your regular books that you're reading at school. And write the page by the side and see if you can find 10 adverbs. That is your challenge, my challenge to you, and I know you can do it. Well, boys and girls, I hope you have a great day. I am so proud of you. You are becoming great word detectives, and you're doing a great job learning all of your parts of speech. Until next time, bye-bye, everybody.